How's it
Welcome.
going? So Megan and I have been off air and we've been talking because we have some exciting news. We're in the same room right now, recording at the same time.
We are in the same place at the exact same time.
Yes. I have flown back from Norway to just meet up with Megan to do the recording.
Yeah. And I flew back from New York.
Just for this moment.
Just for this time.
It was only this going on in our life.
No.
No, but it's really exciting, and it's actually quite fun to now we can actually have a real conversation.
A real conversation.
And record. I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
So yeah, so we're really excited. Hopefully you guys also really enjoy this episode today. We're gonna talk a lot about how season 2, how we kind of created it, all of the things that we had to do behind the scenes to get all of the amazing guests that we had in season 2. And so I hope you guys really enjoy this one. This is our little bonus episode today, so
Yes.
hopefully you like it.
All right.
Okay.
Where are we? I don't know how to record a podcast.
Yeah, right. We're in real
time. I don't know that we know how to do that.
We don't.
So new.
Exactly. So and actually that's one funny thing to maybe start with is we've been doing Google Hangouts and using that to record all of our episodes in completely different time zones, totally remote.
Yep.
And this entire show has literally been built on that.
Exactly.
So this is why it's kind of weird for us to record.
No, but it's
Way.
exciting.
Yeah.
It's something new, and I think this whole podcast has just been something new for us to do all of the time. And the timing and coincidences worked out just well enough for us to be able to meet up in person here in Wisconsin. Yeah. And so it's very exciting.
All right, so I think just to start off, beginning of season 2, we really didn't know what we were going to do.
No.
After the first season, it was just we need a little break because that was a lot of work, just learning about everything and setting everything up and buying microphone, everything square one.
Yep. It was all very new and very time consuming. I mean, the season 2 was time consuming too. Right. But we needed that little bit of a break, and we needed to kind of figure out what our next direction was and what we were going to do for this next season. Definitely. And so we had a little bit of a break, and we started planning and started talking, and season 2 evolved, and here we are.
Right, exactly. And I think it was what was it, December of 2020 that we actually started to really set up kind of our theme and what we wanted to kind of achieve.
Yes, when we started talking about it, and over the holidays we took a little bit of a break, and I think right away in 2021, I think January, we started having regular video calls and brainstorming sessions. What do we want to do next? How do we want to go about this? And what are our goals for this season? And so I think we really ran with the interviews because that's kind of how we ended season 1. And we really wanted to go and reach out to more people and start doing more content just like that. Yep. And it turned out really, really well.
Yeah. So I guess to your point about reaching out to more people, right? Because we had a lot, we knew that we wanted at that point in end of January, we really knew we wanted to find people around the world. That was kind of our goal, and because we're called Design Atlas, we're let's run with that idea. That's really fun. It's a global thing. Everybody is, if we can get different people with different accents and all that, and
we had
audio,
a lot of success with the couple of interviews that we did with our friends and who we know in season 1. Yeah. And so I think that sort of sparked that transition into what we did for season 2.
Definitely.
And eventually, we reached out to a bunch of people. We got a couple of no responses. I don't know that we ever got any direct no's, but we some people never messaged us back. But
replies,
we had a lot of people say yes, and we were very excited. We even have some people on a wait list to interview in the future. So it turned out to be a really interesting time, and we had to do a ton of research to find all of these amazing people that we interviewed, because we didn't know hardly any of them. No. We really only
we didn't know any.
We knew Alan.
Okay, we did know, and we knew Bashar.
And Bashar, Alan and Bashar. So we each had one person from this season that we did know personally, right. But the rest of the
people.
9 people. Yeah. Because there was 11.
Yeah.
9 people we didn't actually know. We reached out to them and out of the blue and really like stuck ourselves out there and got some really great responses from them.
Yeah. And I think, we used a variety of sources to really find our people. Because we looked for, we went on like LinkedIn and we checked like Dribbble or Behance and different design
TikTok
agencies.
And
we literally went all over the internet and just like tried to find people. I think I found one of them, I don't remember who right now, but it was like on a website for like their website that they had made or something. I think it was Josie Young.
It was either Josie or Julie, one of the two. And then there was 2 of them, Nolan and both Saskia and Colin. I found on TikTok, just randomly scrolling through my TikTok feed as one does, and it was really cool. Nolan, I actually asked to be on the show during one of his TikTok lives, which was really exciting. And
he even said yes.
He said
during
yes,
the live, right?
During the live in front of a handful of people, which was really cool. I don't remember how many people were in his live then, but it was really cool. And then Saskia and Colin, they came up on my feed right after Jens and I had the conversation of like, well, let's get somebody who's been to Antarctica before. And we were having some issues trying to find people and look up people. And then they just popped up on my TikTok feed. And I was like, these guys, these are who we need to get on the show.
I mean, everybody's stories, like, we obviously did our research to make sure that we got quality people. And I think when we started to email them or DM them or write them on LinkedIn, like conveying what we were trying to do really helped us, like, to just tell them like, we don't know everybody yet, because that was still at the time, but we were still looking for people, but we did it was easy to find or like just convey the project and like kind of get more people on board on the project because of like speaking of the global perspective and like getting different international designers in our episodes. So it was really, really fun.
We definitely had that like goal of trying to get a certain number of people from certain areas. So that helped us in our search. It wasn't just we have the whole world to find, and we're like, no, we want at least one person from this area and at least one person from this area and somebody who can talk about this subject. And so that helped us narrow our search down. And then, once we found these really high quality, like amazing people, it was really easy to just reach out to them and say, this is what we love about your work. This is why we think you need to be on our show. And this is why you should be on our show. And it was really awesome.
Yeah. And then we also I think with everybody, we sent the questions. Like once we got everybody saying yes, we sent them the questions to kind of prepare a little bit and kind of think about what they wanted to answer those questions. I mean, when we did the interviews themselves, we didn't like go word for word, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are the questions. Here are the answers. But it helped, I think, everybody kind of prepare a little bit so that they kind of came with an answer then instead of like just stumbling along.
And I don't know that our listeners really can gather that we had questions lined up for them right away, because based on how we edited it afterwards, like you really couldn't tell that we really asked almost everybody almost the same questions, which and then we had a few very curated questions based on what
their
projects and especially Saskia and Colin about Antarctica. Deep dive into that, but it was also like each interview really was just a conversation with that person to get to know them, and that's all those questions were, was just how to transition into let's get to know you, and then we would go off from there.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, and then having asked them all the questions, hearing everybody's very different and unique answers, like that was quite cool. But then editing it afterwards, because we really wanted a bit more of that narration style in season 2, we kind of edited each of those responses to kind of fit their story instead of just like read the question off and have them answer it in the episode, right?
So it was really us just telling their story
in a nice more packaged way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, and then once we did the interview, which we did like on Google Hangouts, and like I guess we should mention though, because everybody was all over the world, including us.
The scheduling
thing. Maybe you want to enlighten us how we did that, because I think you were a bit more.
I think I was more organized on that front. So of course, Jens and I split a lot of our tasks as we do with the podcast. I think scheduling was on my plate for this, and after reaching out to everybody, after they say yes. Now it's a matter of like, okay, let's get them on the calendar. Let's have specific days we're going to do interviews and things like that. But Jens is in Norway and I'm in New York. And our guest is somewhere else in the world. Exactly. One in particular that was really difficult for us to even find a time at all that was going to work for any of us was Josie Young in Australia. Yeah. We are quite literally in 3 different spots over the world.
The 3 different quadrants of the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Like and
somewhere it's night,
trying
basically.
to find 1 to 2 hours that aligns on all 3 quadrants of the world where it's not like super early or super late for any of us was nearly impossible. Yeah. But we did it.
I stayed up till, I think we recorded until 10 my time. So I
10
think
your time,
Josie's was 7 a.m.
Yeah, I was at the office. I was in the afternoon for me. So it was like a really good time for me. But it was like 7 a.m. in Australia. And it was like 10 for you. Yeah. Oh, man.
That was
And it would have, that was like pretty much the only way we could do it. It was one person was going to be in the afternoon, somebody was going to have it really late, and someone was going to be in like really early in the morning, and there was no getting around it.
No. But it worked.
It worked out. Josie's a morning person. Love that.
Drank some coffee before, and hey, she was ready to go. So
Exactly.
So yeah, so that was fun. But like scheduling itself, like we I don't remember what tool we used, but we had sent like a schedule or
like Calendly I think it's Calendly.
Yeah, you're right.
To schedule. So we picked some dates that worked for us and said over this month these are the dates and times that are going to work for us. Very specifically, like Josie, that didn't necessarily work for her. But for most people it actually worked out. We picked some times during the day, like a window on Saturdays and Sundays that would work for both of us, and so it helps that some of the people we were interviewing were in both our time zones, so they just picked a time slot and then we went from there.
We just had the call.
Did
the interview.
Sometimes we had more than one in a day, which was a lot of fun.
One of the weekends, I think one weekend we actually pushed 3 interviews.
We did like 3 or 4 interviews in one weekend. It was crazy. And I think it was the same week we did like Nolan, because Nolan was on a Thursday afternoon or something really random. And then that weekend it was like Saturday and Sunday. We were both like back-to-back interviews on both days. It was like crazy. But it worked out because we got all of our interviews done in a matter of a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, batching out how we were going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, just like as a side note, where we're at right now is like, having had like done all the interviews before editing all of them actually made it a cohesive season that we knew kind of the style we wanted to go with when it came to the editing afterwards. So we really did like edit everything after we did all of the interview recordings and everything.
Right.
For the most part, I think maybe we like Sesky and Colin were our last ones.
Definitely the last ones.
And I may have already started on like Alan's or something, knowing kind of what we were gonna do. But
at that
like,
point,
the majority of them were like interviewed and done, and we just needed a few months to like compile everything and edit and add the music,
get everything ready to go.
All of our narration parts and everything. So
we really like sort of chunked it all out and batched the whole season and sort of in one go. So we did all of our planning in early like January, February, did the reaching out and scheduling and actually doing the interviews in February, March, and then it was March and April was hardcore editing for Jens, and then
really
narrations. And so, I mean, Jens and I were on video chats almost every weekend at that point.
No, it was intense.
It was a lot.
Editing.
It was
like,
a lot of fun, though.
10 episodes in about 2 months is
you did almost
kind of a lot.
A handful of them in one whole week, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
once I got like a few down, just editing wise, like you kind of set patterns, or like you got kind of like I don't know. It became easier as it went. I think the beginning I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be like
Well,
a lot long. It's gonna take longer than 2 months.
Just, like for me with like narrations and stuff like that. Like you'd get the episode all done. I'd listen to you and all your parts, and then I'd go back and just batch through all my narrations for a handful of episodes in one day. And so then we get all of those done, and it was really.
And then I would edit them again.
Then you edit again and put it all together, and then send it, and we review.
And speaking of review, though, right? Because then. So like once Megan and I were happy with it, right?
Yeah.
Then it was like, okay, well now we have to send it to the actual interviewee.
Make sure that what we are trying to like convey in the message we're saying is in line with what they actually were trying to say,
right?
Who they are.
Exactly.
And making sure that some of our facts are right, because you know there's sometimes you get things wrong in an interview,
and sometimes people say things that maybe they don't want on the actual episode. So I think we had a few points when that happened, and it was good that we corrected that before publishing it.
Right, exactly. And then I think also with everybody, I mean, nearly everybody that we spoke to, English was their second language. There's only a handful of people who, English is their first language. And so they also were just nervous about their accents and things like that, even though we absolutely loved hearing their accents. And I love the writing and the accents. But, people are very just conscious of it, as you would be, because it's not your native language. But
so once we kind of made their changes, and Megan and I listened to it one more time and made any changes that needed to be made on our ends, then we just scheduled it, and it went out when we kicked off the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had to make some album art in there. And
True.
Social media and all of that. I think once the episodes were really like done and recorded, and we knew everything that was going on with the episode and what the story was going to say, then I think we went about.
We had scheduled all of the podcasts before the season started, and to be
That's
fair,
true.
I was pretty happy about that, like as an achievement in and of itself.
They were in Anchor and ready to go, more or less.
Exactly.
The actual audio was in Anchor.
Exactly.
The rest of it, the album art, the descriptions,
right, exactly.
But the actual audio was definitely already in Anchor and ready to go. Like before, it wasn't even before we launched like the trailer. Yeah,
I think it was like the first week of May.
April.
April. No, we kicked it off in May. What am I saying?
Yeah, we kicked off in May, but
like
the trailer was
April,
up in April.
We were basically done with them in mid-April. Yeah.
Yep, and at that point it was all on just getting those little details left. So now it's the descriptions and the
links, making sure
the links and the socials and the album art and then the website.
Well, and speaking of because we kicked off our website
right around the same time as season.
Like season 2 started, and our website was up. And to be fair, like little behind the scenes disaster, we had originally in our episodes had said like our email and everything, like hello@designatlistpod.com. And we were like, oh, well, now we really need to have this domain because we added it to all the recordings, because we didn't have it at that point when we were still
wanted to do
them.
it, but then, we were planning on doing the website and whatever. But then all of a sudden, I think it was April, and we're like, we still don't have a website.
Exactly.
Like, we need to get it done. So we did, I guess you'd call it a soft launch. We really didn't launch it too big. And it's definitely a version 1.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
Yes.
It's just our next project that we're it'll be better for season 3. And just keep looking at it. But we had a good time with the website. I think that was, I don't know, a ton of fun. Really awesome trying to learn Webflow and getting the everything organized and the technical side of things.
Also just having a domain is
cool.
The next step as a professional podcast. So I was pretty happy about just getting our domain and that it was available and everything too. And thankfully nobody had snatched it while we were still recording, to be fair. And that would have been another disaster.
We would have had to re-record some things. But we didn't. That's good.
We were all good.
That's good.
So but also I wanted to mention though the album art thing, because that was pretty fun. Or I guess the branding of season 2.
Yeah,
we did kind of change a bit of our brand identity in season 2, right? And using Figma, I think was pretty cool, because we were able to just I think we spent I don't remember how many hours we spent, but one of those Saturday evenings that
one
we
of
were
those Saturdays
meeting.
that we were on video call.
we worked on like Figma, and we were just like talking about the album art for hours.
Hours.
Like, should we have this there? Should we do this? How about this? Like, we tried so many different versions for album art, but like I think after like collectively working on that for like literally talking about like getting that feedback like instantly while we were doing it, like
it was
really
so helpful, like being able to work on it together. And also, honestly, I haven't worked on a project like that with another designer, like actually working on a design like in the same file together in such a long time, as like the only designer at my company, like so it was such a great time to really just be able to like work in a file with somebody else and actually like, you know, we
and
spent,
they're not the client.
what is it?
That's the thing.
Exactly.
They're not the client working in the file.
We're both the client, and we both have like the same vision and the same like style, and we knew what we wanted, and so it was really fun. We each took like our old branding and our old album art, and we said, here, take like 20 minutes. We're each going to just sit here silent, more or less silently, and work on our own designs for like 20 minutes or so, or make a couple of versions of it. And then we go from there, and then we combine them, and then all of that. It was really kind of fun.
It was like a workshop.
It was fun. It was so much fun.
So that's actually how our album art came about. And then we had to get photos from everybody too, to kind of, show who they were and so on. So that was kind of
more coordinating on my end, and you know, getting photos, and also just getting some more resources to use for social media. Like obviously Saskia and Colin had some amazing and incredible photos because they're photographers.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Love them. All the little penguins.
And the sound effects. Let's be honest.
And the sound effects. That's right.
They sent me which I mentioned in the beginning of that episode, but they sent me the sound effects of like every you know, all of the different animals and the wind and the boats, and it was it kind of really makes that episode really like next level because of that sound effects, and are actually coming from like Antarctica. They're not just like random sound effects I found online. Like that is actually from there. So that was pretty cool.
That was such a fun. I'm so happy that we decided to ask them for those assets, because it really sort of elevated the whole episode into something totally else, because that was cool because they have the video files, and they have like I think it was after our interview we were like, wait, they have video files. That means they have audio. We're like, can we
exactly though.
We need those.
Exactly.
But it turned out so cool. But in terms of the rest of the assets and all of the different things that we got from everybody else, the social media, I don't even know, like different files from Nolan and Bashar, photos from him and Alan, some sketches. Like I got all kinds of stuff from everybody, and it was really great to kind of connect with them afterwards, because they at that point had already had their interview and they'd already probably almost heard like the episode and stuff as well, so it was good to reconnect with them and be like, hey, we're still working on stuff and this is where we're at.
Yeah, definitely. So like with what's next though, like because now we're kind of at this kind of point in time where it's like season 3 is coming.
Yes.
And we're still planning on it, so I'm not really gonna give a lot of spoilers here, but we are planning to do season 3 I think in the fall at some point, like late fall. And we will definitely be announcing more of that on like social media, and publicizing a bit more like when the kickoff will be. We don't have the date yet set and all of that, but we will.
We will.
Very soon.
We'll keep you posted on that one. I don't think we even know.
No. That's why I'm like being nice. I'm like, we don't know, but we will know, and we'll let you know.
Eventually, we'll let you know. We're not gonna.
But this fall, definitely sometime.
It'll be this fall. I think that's the general goal, is this fall.
And also we might change up our style. I think that's a bit too of. I mean, not to really throw too many spoilers out there, but we are not probably going to do like all narration episodes
or
going
all
forward.
Interviews
So
because we'll transition to this next, like what we learned, but I think what's next, it's another step for us to change up what we're doing. We're designers. We
iterate.
We're just iterating upon this next. Each season is the next version of the podcast. So it's not going to be the same as the last, and it'll hopefully just be better.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, the goal. So excited.
And I mean, that is kind of the inflection point of what we learned here, because like what we want to take everything that we've learned now and make season 3 even better than what we did in season 2. And when we did the editing and then all the narration after, listening to all of that, we kind of felt like our voices, like Megan and my voices, were a little bit muted, per se. And I don't, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I
thing.
think, and we kind of, we could have anticipated that happening because we were doing interviews of other people.
Right.
And that's, we were telling their stories. And so we wanted their voices and their stories to shine in this season. But because of that, we lost some of our voice that we had
Megan and I both
in
felt
the first season.
Yeah, we both felt this way. And it was, and I think one thing we definitely want to do, whether we don't know yet how we want to do it in season 3, but we're definitely going to do more like this exact type of vibe of episode that we're doing right now. Right. It's like we're talking and having a conversation, just Megan and I, and then do interviews kind of intermittently, but not an entire season.
Interviews certainly are not going away because being able to share the stories of other people, and especially like designers who really may not have had their short story shared before. There really was, out of this season, only 2 or 3 of them. The last few people we interviewed were the ones that had maybe a larger audience and were maybe a little bit more well known. But our first, handful of interviews for the season, they're not very well known in the industry or, in their local area maybe, but, we get to share these stories that no one else around the world is hearing. So it was really cool to kind of connect on that point of it. Definitely. So I think that's not going to go away, but we're going to come back.
We're coming back.
We're coming back.
It is our show at the end of the day, right, Megan?
Also, I mean, the number of video chats we had over the last year or so of us doing this exact same thing. This riffing, this being able to talk for hours and hours.
Exactly.
Like, we say so many great things and we wish we could share it with you guys. And
No, exactly.
And, we missed that a little bit. So we're going to bring it back.
Yes. When it came to feedback, we got some feedback from the people that we interviewed, and it was really helpful, I think, when it came to that, because I mean, Megan and I gave each other feedback, like what we could improve, what as we went, but also just having like that external source or like the person's interview that we told through with their story in that episode, like just getting their feedback before we launched it. I mean, it was great, but like at times it was also like a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we are designers interviewing other designers, and as designers, we all have opinions, which we love to hear and always. But it's one of those things where you learn to take an opinion or not take it, and. That's we had to figure that out this season. I think we didn't experience that in season 1 at all, really, because we were still trying to figure it out with ourselves,
our friends,
and our friends.
We're really nice,
and exactly. And so now we have like this different level of dynamic because they're almost not necessarily a client, but like sort of that same level of
But we did want to make like all of our interviewees really happy about the episode. I mean, that was part of our goal. I mean, we didn't want somebody to be like, oh, we don't want my story published now because you guys aren't making my story sound great. So our intention was always to make everybody sound great. I mean, it just ended up that some of the feedback additionally that was coming was like we wanted to keep our show.
Yes, so that's where we.
I didn't want to lose that, right?
Yeah, because there's a point where it's their show or it's our show, and so yes, we're telling their story, but it is our show too. And so, I don't know if there's a very nicer way to say that, but or if we're gonna include that, but
I don't know. But that's that point.
That's that point. That's what we were talking about.
But also there was a lot of writing that was involved in.
Yes, you did a lot of writing.
Yeah. I felt like a writer / audio editor.
I feel like you're way better at the writing stuff than I am. I don't know. Like when it comes to like writing like social media post content, like that's totally a different world.
Yeah.
Like it's 1 or 2 sentences, and half the time I'm riffing off of whatever you wrote,
or the theme of the episode, or whatever somebody said,
or like a quote or something, or something kind of.
Yeah,
generic.
no, there was a lot of brainstorming, and I think too when I like the method of editing, because it kind of goes with the editing thing, like writing. It was first, obviously, we did the interview, and then I was like, okay, this is what they said. I took out the parts like that I thought, okay, this I will use this,
Yep.
it's like it's too much or too much info. I mean, we spent like an hour in each interview at least, and the episodes are maximum 30 minutes. So we did like a lot of
a lot
of cutting.
that got cut, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I think it just we used the best parts out of it, and I think everybody was just happy about that because, we do riff about random stuff at times. Like,
oh, yeah, there was certainly conversations that were totally left out of the episodes that I'm sure are funny or interesting to other people.
Yeah. But in light of time, it was
you condensed nearly 2 hours worth of an interview down to 30 minutes. Yeah. Granted, some of that is technicality stuff. Some of it is
our questions being asked.
Exactly. And still, once you get down to it, it's still a lot to like condense down. And there were certainly topics that I think we eventually edited out. But I think in the end it worked out great. And you wrote like a really great narrative for everybody. And then your narrations on top of all of that were.
Thank you.
Just an added level.
So
to
nice,
the whole
Megan.
Thing.
So nice
the whole
of you,
thing.
Megan.
I don't know. It was great.
No, but
I always loved reading like the narrations when you'd send them over. I'm like, okay, what are we talking? Like, what are we doing?
What is the story here?
What is the story here?
But
and
really,
then I could see your thought process throughout like all of like the narrations when you're reading them. Like this is great. Like I totally get it.
But like it did the story because it was really like what the interviewee said, and then I just had to like back up or edit something out that they had said and then revise it in the way I would say it.
Yes.
And that, I think by doing that multiple times, I got better as I went. But that was definitely the way that helped me create the story more effectively than being like, oh, I have to randomly write something now and then hope it makes sense with what they're saying. Instead, I took what they said, took it, like basically cut it out and then said it in a different format.
Right, because a lot of what they, whether it was a topic transition or whatever, like we were really just setting the stage for whatever it is they're going to talk about next,
right?
And so either during the interview they said it or we had asked a question.
Exactly. So and I think at some points too I actually rephrased the question as just a like sentence for the
exactly narration. Or they talked about a topic that we needed additional information on, like jiu-jitsu. Like, does anybody know anything about jiu-jitsu? No, but we learned about jiu-jitsu.
I had to read something to make a narration about it. And there were multiple types of jiu-jitsu, just
we
saying.
Both had to.
Didn't even know that.
Yes, we had to like totally like change the narrations.
Then, so that was kind of a lot of things on like my part, like, editing a lot, writing a lot, getting a lot of feedback and iterating on it and where I had to for the episode itself. But you also did a lot of things when it came to kind of more after the episodes were in Anchor and scheduled and ready to go. Like it was then kind of your turn to
then
to take
it was really kind of
the
my
next
turn.
weeks to really hit the ground running.
Yeah, Jens has had a break for the last few weeks, and I've been like every single
taking
week.
Holidays, living life.
I've been hard at work here every single week, but no, I really kind of took over. I ended up having to like learn new tools during this season. So for the website, obviously we are two people and
really? We are
both designers. We are both designers, but only one person can really kind of build something at a time, right. Especially like a website. And so Jens ended up designing a lot of the website, and then I built it out. Yeah, the mock-ups. Yeah. Obviously in Figma because we're designers. Why would we not design the website before we built it? So Jens and I worked on the designs and stuff, but I actually did the hard work of understanding and learning Webflow in order to actually build our website. And on top of that, I also had to learn Figma because I don't use Figma.
No, I introduced Figma to Megan during this podcast.
I don't use Figma for my job, and so because I guess I'm a graphic and brand designer. I mostly am an Adobe Illustrator and such. And anytime I do prototyping or mock-ups and stuff, I use XD because that's what I have.
And it's an Adobe, so
it's Adobe, or I use Sketch because that's what we had previously or whatever. And so I'm familiar with XD and Sketch, so Figma was really not a hard thing for me to learn. No. I don't think it is for anybody once you've learned those two. And so it was pretty quick for me to figure it out. And actually, I really enjoy Figma. absolutely love it. I love it
it's great.
So and then I ended up using Figma for the content planning and social media stuff. So all of our graphics I ended up making in Figma throughout the season so that I could keep practicing on Figma and keep using it, because you got to use your tools in order to be an expert in them. And so,
and one side note on Figma quick, like working, in different time zones and kind of just remotely for all of this except for today. Basically, by using Figma, we were able to really work collaboratively on the assets and everything together. And so, like, you could add comments, or I made a mock-up, and then you like just changed some things that made more sense in Webflow, and like just being able to. It didn't matter really what time zone we were in, because I would just do something, go to bed, and Megan would work on something in her evening, and then I would come back.
Yeah, that was certainly helpful.
It was really great, though, right? Instead of like having to send you a file and then email it back, and like all that.
We're sharing the exact same file. We're working the exact same thing. So like at any point in time, Jens could go in and take a look at the social media files and see what's up, or I could same with like the website. When I was building the website, if Jens decided to make any changes on the content, whatever, I could go in and take a look at that. But yeah, it was really cool kind of learning those two products. And also Webflow, I'm obsessed. I don't know anybody else knows what Webflow is, but I'm going to just give it a plug because I love it. It's
not sponsored, by the way.
It's not sponsored, and we wish it was, but someday. But I use it now for my personal website as well. But it's probably one of the coolest website builder products out there, I'd say, without having to actually hand code a website. It's a no-code tool, but if you understand code, I think it makes it really easy for you to understand the mechanics behind all of it and what you're doing. And there's
the
so much classes
editing.
and the way that you work with it. If you understand CSS, you totally understand Webflow, and it's just you don't actually have to write any code. And it's just really great. You can press some buttons, and it's a good time, but you have like the full flexibility to do whatever it is that you want to do, which I think is the biggest downfall when it comes to like any no-code website builders, because you get stuck in a template or a theme or whatever. And Webflow, as a designer, you can literally just take your Figma file and just start designing it right in Webflow. You can make your whole website look exactly like you want it to and do exactly what you want it to, and even more than what you could do in like Figma or XD or whatever. Like, I designed my website in XD, and I have like half of the things in it that I actually ended up putting in Webflow, because once I got into Webflow, it was like really cool. So
you could add a bunch of animations and
the animations and
the
scroll effects and I don't know, all kinds of fun stuff. And they're like Webflow University, they have like a learning content platform as well, and they are just so entertaining. I could sit and watch their videos like all day long, learn how to use Webflow and also just be entertained at the same time. So if you don't know Webflow, you gotta go check it out.
And then also, when it came to a bunch of the social media posting and everything, like, you created all of the assets and like all of the posts in Figma, which like I think you previously mentioned, but it was really cool to just see like how you were working in Figma and all of the things that you made. But like, you also had used some tools to schedule those as well, right?
We previously were using there's a million different social media scheduling tools out there, and you
did notice there was a lot of bad ones.
There's a lot of bad ones. I did a lot of research on these because we're doing this for free. Like, this is for the most part.
We're just doing this for you
really
guys.
Are not making
we love
any
you.
money. We do this because we love you, and so we don't want to spend a ton of money on like subscriptions and things like that.
One day we will.
Someday we'll be able to pay for a better social media scheduling platform. But right now is not it. So, definitely use like a combination of a lot of things. But I think this season I had to decide on a new platform than what I used last season, because what we were using before was Hootsuite. They changed their requirements, and then we couldn't schedule out like hardly anything anymore in their free version, which was really sad. So I went and looked at all of the other free versions of all kinds of other things, and I settled on one called Publer, and it is really nice. I like it a lot. It's could be better. Their paid versions, I'm sure, are a lot better than the free one, but for the most part, the free one's pretty great. And so I used and learned how to use that one. They're all pretty similar, I'd say.
No.
Do the same thing. But I also, using like Facebook Creator Studio for Instagram and Facebook sometimes as well. But yeah, I mean, definitely had to learn about all of those, but I also use Airtable to manage, I think, and plan out my posts.
Well,
on top of
and
that.
speaking of Airtable quickly too, because we do a lot of our episode
Of
planning.
stuff in Airtable,
Yeah, it's not just social media. Like
Yeah.
I think that's social media helps. But it's good that you keep it in there because we also do our episodes
Yes.
that prior to
Airtable
social media
is
in there too.
I think the living, breathing everything about the podcast.
Exactly.
One database. It's our podcast database.
It is. It really is.
Really
it also
exactly
has
what
our
it is.
guests who are on our waiting list
Yes.
and upcoming, season 3 ideas
It
and
has
everything.
our episode descriptions.
Yep.
It has the show
album
notes,
art,
the
show
album
notes,
art, the everything we need for one episode you can find in one place, as well as all of the episodes in the seasons and the social media attached to those seasons and eventually the data for our website. So there's a ton of stuff happening in Airtable.
Yeah.
Also one of my favorite products just ever.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like how we've organized all of our stuff. And
I think, the quality of our show it's positive because it's a good thing that's come out of all of the organizing that we've done to then create good quality content and also our episode just better because of it. So
and
because we're remote, it's we need these tools to keep track because otherwise this would probably not be possible without keeping who is doing what is done, what is not.
There's a ton of information being passed behind the scenes and that you guys obviously just don't see.
No.
And so it's great to kind of keep it all in one place and connected and being able to do it digitally at any point in time and not have to save any files.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. We love the cloud.
But we have some really exciting news.
We do.
You want to do the
honors?
Honors.
Okay.
Drum roll, everybody.
Drum roll. Okay, so at the beginning of this, I say the beginning of the season, let's say May, the actual beginning of the releasing of the season. In May, we discovered this podcasting competition called MyRødeCast. So this podcasting competition called MyRødeCast, and we decided that we wanted to enter the competition. And so a little bit more about the competition. I think it's just a competition that Rode Microphones does in combination with, they also did it with Anchor, and they...
And just as a side note, we were a bit attuned to it because we actually use Rode mics that we purchased
and we
for
also
our
use
episodes.
Anchor.
And we use Anchor. So it was
Anchor.
a perfect combination of the tools and the platforms we're using.
Yes.
And then they were offering this contest as well, which was really cool.
So it's just a contest for podcasters to be creative and innovative and whatever. Small content creators. It's not certainly for big creators. There wasn't a ton of really big names that I saw.
No.
There's so many podcasts out there.
There
Who
were a
knows?
lot of submissions, though.
But there was, 1,623 submissions to this competition. But we submitted in early May, right around the time that we already had our season out. It was another avenue, I guess, of advertising.
And to anybody who voted, when we kind of announced that we had submitted and got accepted into the contest,
thank you.
We appreciate it and thank you very much because
we landed in the top 100 out of all of these podcasts. We ended up becoming a highly commended winner, and it was very exciting.
The fact that there were that many episodes that were submitted and that we made it into the top 100 list, again, it's just so amazing. We've only published 20 episodes and we're already winning awards in the top 100. So to me, I'm just this has just been such a great journey, and I think something that both Megan and I never thought would ever happen.
Yeah,
to be honest.
exactly.
And and we put a lot of hard work into it, so we're also really happy that what we are doing actually is being noticed. And the way that they actually did the contest is they had a variety they had like People's Choice Award, and they had a variety of other types of awards that you could win. Based on the criteria of how it was voted on. But the top 100 majority of those were voted on by judges. So I don't remember the judges.
So they had a panel of judges. I quite honestly don't know. I think there was a handful of judges, like maybe
but
five.
They were
only like 5 or 6 judges.
They were quite notable people in like the audio podcast space, I think. They weren't just like random people.
Yes, they were very specific people that they chose to judge this competition. You had to like, in order to enter, like, you had to be accepted. You didn't have to, like, it wasn't just you can enter and whatever. You had to be accepted because there were certain criteria we had to meet. It could only be up to 2 minutes long. And
which is where our trailer really came in
handy.
It
had to be 2 minutes long, and it had to be a small podcast with big ideas, and wanted to leave the listener wanting more, which is exactly what our goal of the trailer was in the first place. And so it was really like a perfect fit and perfect timing for the beginning of the season, because we submitted right in early May and right when the season had started, and we had more coming, and it was really kind of cool. And it also, just the timing in the end worked out really well, because we found out just this week that we won.
Right before we were about to meet and do this recording.
And we just wrapped up our season. So like, that's just really exciting. So the timing on the whole thing was really exciting. And so, And
just as a side note too, there were over like within these like over 1,600 podcasts that were submitted. They come from over 60 different countries.
All over the world.
It's literally a global like
and
contest.
The entries from the US alone are crazy.
But so thank you again, everybody, for voting if you did, and we look forward to hopefully winning more awards in the future, and we'll definitely keep you posted. And we really just appreciate you guys for voting and getting us noticed, and just keep sharing the love.
Exactly. And thank you for tuning in this season and really just like listening to our show and joining us on this wonderful journey.
So stay tuned for season 3, because we are going to announce some really exciting things really soon.
Yes.
And I guess that's all for now. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Talk to you soon.
Outro music.
Outro music. I don't know.
Don't forget to join us for our next episode by subscribing to the show and leaving a positive review. We really appreciate it.
To learn more about Design Atlas and to sign up for updates, visit our website at designatlaspod.com. If you want to get in touch with us or have a topic idea for our next episode, feel free to send us an email at hello@designatlaspod.com or DM us on Instagram at designatlaspod. Thanks for listening. I'm Megan Ludke.
And I'm Jens Springseal.